Hello folks, my name is Leah Bonasaki from Master Lab Systems. Today we'll be looking at monitoring Python FastAPI application with Prometheus and Grafana. Okay, so let's move on. So let's look at the first slide. Why monitor FastAPI apps? Okay, so reason why behind monitoring this Python FastAPI application or any application for that matter is to ensure the app healthy and uptime, also to detect slow endpoints and bottlenecks in the code or in the application itself, also to get some real-time metrics for decision making, of course, preventing outages before they even happen. So very important that one to prevent outages, because when we are monitoring this application, we ensure that we detect some slowness in the application side, memory leaks, of course, outages, downtimes. So that's important for us to catch those before they even happen. Okay, let's move on. So what is Prometheus now? So Prometheus is an open source monitoring system and a time series database. So Prometheus works in a way of it pulls metrics based or just a metric collection. Also, it provides a powerful query language, which is a prompt UR, to run those queries using that language, so we can be able to interact with our applications when we are monitoring it. Also, it works with exporters such as FastAPI Instrumentation, which is one of the exporters in Python FastAPI for exporting those metrics in a FastAPI application. Okay, so now let's look at what is Grafana. Grafana is an open source analytics and a visualization platform. So again, Grafana connects to Prometheus and other sources as it gets the data from these sources. Also, it then generates dashboards for creating some rich dashboards in its default page. Also, it provides some real-time and historical data visualization, which is also viewed in the dashboards in Grafana. So again, let's look at how we can add the Prometheus instrumentator in our Python FastAPI so we can be able to get the real metrics for our application. So the first thing we need, of course, if you are using Poetry like myself, of which in this project again or in this demo I will be using Poetry, since my project or the Python project I will be using, it's mainly using Poetry as its dependency manager or a build tool. So using Poetry, you can just add, do, or run Poetry add Prometheus dash FastAPI dash instrumentator. So again, automatically adding that dependency, it also comes in by default with a matrix endpoint. So meaning in Prometheus, automatically you will be able to hit on metrics endpoint to get the metrics of your application, of course. So looking at that, so on this screenshot, which is instrument your FastAPI app. So that's how you can add your instrumentator or your instrumentator in your application. So moving on. Of course, once we add to the instrumentator, now we run Prometheus. So Prometheus, for you to be able to listen to your program, that's the minimal configuration we need to add. So is to create a Prometheus configuration file, which is a YAML file. Of course, the job name is to be FastAPI, so because it knows that it's looking at a FastAPI application, and of course, the target is to be the port where the application is running on. After that, we run Prometheus using a Docker. Of course, since I will be using a Docker to run Prometheus engine and a Grafana server, I will be using a Docker. So that's the command that you need to run. Of course, I will be showing that, of course, in a minute. So that should run your Prometheus server, so you can be able to start ingesting metrics. Okay, so again, once you run Prometheus, now you need to run Grafana to be able to visualize and add Prometheus as a source to your metrics. So again, running Grafana, since I'll be using a Docker, so that's the Docker command you can use to run Grafana, so which is docker run -d-p, internal port and external port, and a container name. So which is now the default login for Grafana. It's admin as the username and admin as the password. That's default login. And then we add Prometheus as data source and we import a dashboard. Okay, so Grafana, of course, it uses some built-in Prometheus dashboards and templates. So what it requires, or what it listens to on those dashboards, it look at the request rate for each request, and also the response times, of course, and some status codes. Also, it observes the app health and trends. Okay, so let's look at how we can add this in a live code. Okay, so the first things first, of course, as I said, what we need, I'm just going to stop my application now so I can recap everything. So what we need is to, first things first, this is the command we need to do, we need to run. So which is powered at Prometheus FastAPI Instrumentator. So what this means, of course, as I've explained it, but I will recap it again. What it means, it will automatically add what? Your dependency, your instrumentator dependency to your project, and also gives you the metrics endpoint. So of course I've already run that command. So I'm just going to show you now in my code, which is in my FastAPI project. So again, this is that. Once you run that code, that command, it automatically adds your dependency to your project. From adding that, again, what we need is now to create what? A Prometheus configuration file, which is again what I've already shown. So the job name, of course, it needs to know that it's listening at the FastAPI application. And again, the target where the application will be running on, it needs to know, it needs to look at port 8000, which is on localhost port 8000. So of course, once you do this, then you should be good to go. So now let's go ahead and run Grafana and Prometheus. Okay, so again, I will be using my Docker. So again, since they are running on my server, I'm just going to show the command that you need to get those running. First things first, which is very important, since we are running microservice applications, which means interconnected services, so it's important, it becomes important and critical that these applications, they run in the same network, especially if you are running them in a Docker container. So it's important that they are being tied in the same network so they can be able to communicate or talk to each other. So very important. What we need to do now, okay, let's go to my Docker. Let's do Docker ps-a, showing all of my services. So of course, I just started this already. As you can see, they are up 15 minutes uptime. So, but for now, I'm just going to recap everything so you can be able to get these services to talk to each other or be able to communicate with each other. So the first command we need to do before even running them is to do what? Get these in a network. So meaning, first command we need to issue and to run is to this one, is to create a network for these services, since they will be running in the same network so that they can be able to talk to each other, to communicate. So the first command we need is to create a network. So now I'm go ahead and this command, Docker network create FastAPI monitoring. So once you run this, of course, in my case, I've already run this command. So just for this one, it should say now already exists. So again, as you can see, the network already exists. So from running this now, once you run it now and have your network ready, we will be looking at the second command, which runs Prometheus and mounts the Prometheus container to that network and gets that config that we created. Okay, so which is this second command now. I've already run it as well, so I'm not going to run it again. So as I've said again, what it does, it gets the Prometheus image. Of course, it first looks it locally, but of course don't find it locally, and then it pulls from the Docker hub and then mounts it, meaning it runs it inside what? Our network that we created, exposes that to port 1990, and again gets what? The Prometheus configuration file. So once you get that, you run that command. So in my case, I've already run it. I don't run the conflict because you create a conflict. So lastly, now we are running what? The Grafana image, the Grafana command. So this one, what it does too, it gets the Grafana image, runs it inside the network that we created, exposes that outside and inside with port 1000. So now again, I've already run that command, so I'm not gonna run it again. But of course, this is the command that we need to run, so you can get the service in the same network and be able to talk to each other. So once you run that, this is what you should be getting now. Of course, your container should run on the desired port. As you can see, they are running successfully fine. Grafana on port 3000 and Prometheus on port 1990. So now, once we have this now, you are ready now to do what? Which is to start the Python application so we can be able to get the metrics. So what I will do now, I'm just going to start out to this site. Let's let it start out fine. Okay, it is started. So again, if we go to port 8000, which is where my application, my FastAPI application is running from. So again, on that port, as you can see, on port 8000, I have a Swagger schema there. So for my application, of course, this is the endpoint I was referring to. So meaning automatically when you have added that instrumentation dependency, by default, you get the metrics endpoint in your project. So which is what you can see there. But of course, let's now look at Grafana and connect Prometheus as a source. Okay, so first of all, on your first login time on Grafana, this is what you have to see, or this is what you have to see. So as you can see, I'm logged in with an admin. Let's sign out for now, maybe re-log in again. So of course, admin, as I said, the default credentials, it's admin. So the password again, admin. So let's log in. Okay, new password. Let's skip this for now. It will ask you to create a new one for production again, but for now, let's skip that. So this is the first things first. This is what you see when you are logging into your Grafana homepage or Grafana dashboard. So now we need to add Prometheus as the source. So complete, go there again. You select Prometheus. So of course, I'm just gonna get to this one. So now what we need, let me just refresh this. Okay, so as you can see, so this is the configuration it will require you. So again, automatically it knows that Prometheus is running on that port, so it's expecting that endpoint, which is all that URL. So again, let's put it back in there. So again, no authentication required for Prometheus. So now we need to save this and test. So save and test. Of course, there it is, there it works. So automatically Prometheus or Grafana is able to talk to Prometheus now. So now we can build the dashboards since we have added Prometheus as the data source. So let's go ahead so we can start looking at the metrics for our application. So now looking at that, add the visualization dashboards. Okay, Prometheus, probably that. Of course, looking at the last hour, so meaning we need to look at the new logs. That's what we need to do. But of course, this, it will only give you or show you a data when we have made some amount of request to application. But for now, what else I could show you, so instead of looking at there, let's look at the metrics. Metrics are very much quicker to discard, of course. So let's look at the metrics for the application. As you can see, now that we just refresh that page, they start to show the request. So automatically, using the metrics tab, of course, you get the results in a quick manner or in a faster manner, as you can see now. So again, if now I were to reload or refresh my page, I'd automatically get another metric. So the graph, of course, it will definitely spike up high now. It's because of this new request that just came. As you can see, even the time now, it's even matching my timestamp. So looking at that, you get these metrics for your application. And also, if you look at your application log, as you can see, there it goes. Automatically it keeps on fetching the metrics, and they see that as 200, meaning successfully the integration as well. We can get the metrics. Of course, one last thing before we end the session, as you can see, look at it now. It just brings another metrics to our Prometheus. Just grab another metrics. Okay. So one last thing that I want to show you before we end this session is to the metrics tab. So as I said earlier on, automatically when we add the metrics, which is that instrumentator config, it automatically comes with that endpoint, which is metrics. So in Prometheus, maybe let me also show you how Prometheus looks like, the interface for Prometheus. So if we go there in port 1990, this is Prometheus interface, just a Prom query language, but of course it's not looking too much good or too much fancy. I would rather look at the metrics via Grafana instead of looking at here. So again, in port 1990, that's Prometheus running. So again, if you look at now, if you go to localhost port 1990/metrics, this is the metrics again. This is the metrics endpoint that you can get as well. So as you can see now, what this does now, it's getting the metrics. As you can see, the metrics keeps on expanding as our application is running. So many are getting the metrics as well. Okay folks, I think I should be ending here for now. As you can see, everything is working successfully fine. If you have any questions or stuck, or you have any issues, errors, drop them in the comment section below. I'll be answering those. And again, please, very important, if you like this video folks, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it. Thanks folks. See you next time. Cheers. Peace.